The rain poured heavily that night in Umuezee village. Villagers gathered under the tall iroko tree, their faces lit by lanterns. At the center stood Aadaora, once admired, now shamed. Her clothes were torn, her hair scattered, her eyes wide with terror. She screamed and clawed at the air. "Please. Stop haunting me. I will return the land." But to the villagers, she was only a young woman who had lost her senses. They could not see the tall, shadowy figure that loomed before her, the guardian spirit of the land, Ogbonna, whose eyes burned like coal. Aadaora trembled. Her downfall had come. In the quiet village of Umuezee, the rhythm of life was measured by the crow of the cock at dawn, the pounding of pestles in mortar, and the laughter of children playing in dusty compounds. The people of Umuezee lived close to the soil, for the land was their pride, their inheritance, and their future. Among them lived Mama Nena, a woman whose name carried weight in every corner of the village. She was not rich in money, but she was wealthy in wisdom, dignity, and character. For years, she had tilled her husband's farmland, feeding herself and her only child, Aadaora, after death snatched her husband too soon. But now, Mama Nena lay weak on her bamboo bed. Her body had grown frail, her once strong hands shaking like leaves in the harmattan breeze. She knew her time was near. The women of the village gathered in her compound, whispering prayers, while elders sat quietly in corners, their faces heavy with the knowledge of what was coming. Inside the small mud house, the flicker of a palm oil lamp painted shadows on the cracked walls. Aadaora sat by her mother's side, fanning her gently, though her eyes betrayed restlessness. She was young, barely 20, her skin smooth, her beauty undeniable. But her heart was elsewhere, beyond the red earth of Umuezee, beyond the farmlands, somewhere in the bustling cities she had only seen on her friends' phones. Mama Nena struggled to speak, her breath shallow. "Aadaora, my daughter, come closer." Aadaora leaned in, forcing a smile. "I'm here, Mama." The old woman's eyes glistened. "This land, the one behind our compound, it is not just soil. It carries the sweat of your father, the prayers of your ancestors, the dignity of our family. You must never sell it. Promise me." Aadaora's heart raced. The land. Again. She had heard this speech countless times. To her, it was just farmland, a stretch of bushy ground where cassava and maize grew. What value did it hold compared to the dreams she saw online? Her friends in the city posted pictures daily, wearing designer clothes, eating at restaurants, holding smartphones she could only dream of. She forced a nod. "I promise, Mama." But Mama Nena held her hand tighter, as though she sensed the emptiness in her daughter's voice. "Do not treat this lightly. The land has a guardian spirit, Ogbonna. He protects our lineage, he guards the soil. If you betray this trust, Aadaora, it will not go well with you. Do you hear me?" Aadaora looked away, her throat dry. "I hear you." The old woman coughed, her frail chest rising and falling painfully. Yet, her voice carried strength. "Land is not like money. Money finishes, but land remains. It feeds generations. Your father tilled it, I tended it, and you must preserve it. It is not just yours, it belongs to those yet unborn." Aadaora pressed her lips together, wishing the conversation would end. She could not understand why her mother clung so tightly to soil when the world outside promised so much more. Still, she smiled faintly. "Rest, Mama. Don't worry. I will take care of everything." Mama Nena studied her daughter's face, then sighed. Perhaps her words had sunk in, or perhaps not. But there was no more time. She closed her eyes, whispering one last prayer, "Ancestors, guide my daughter." 2 days later, Mama Nena was gone. The wailing began before dawn. Women gathered, beating their chests, rolling on the ground. Men sat in silence, their eyes red. The entire village mourned her, for she was a woman of respect. At her burial, elders poured libation on the soil, calling on the ancestors to receive her spirit. One of them, old Papa Okri, looked at Aadaora and said, "Take care of your mother's land. Do not let her words die with her." Aadaora bowed her head respectfully and did not say a word. That night, while the villagers shared stories of Mama Nena's goodness, Aadaora lay awake, scrolling through her phone. Pictures of her city friends glowed on the screen, parties, laughter, expensive clothes. Her chest tightened with longing. She whispered to herself, "One day, I will leave this village. One day, I will live like them." The days after Mama Nena's burial were quiet. The compound, once full of visitors and sympathizers, grew empty. Aadaora sat often under the mango tree, staring at the farmland behind the house. The cassava leaves danced in the wind, the ridges stretched endlessly, but to her, it all looked like wasted space. Every morning she fetched water, swept the compound, and listened to the chatter of village women. They spoke of harvest, of market days, of marriage plans for their children. But Aadaora's heart was elsewhere. The world she wanted was far beyond the red earth of Umuezee. Her friends from the city called her often. Their voices were full of laughter, background music from clubs echoing through the phone. "Aadaora," one teased, "you're too fine to be stuck in the village. Sell that land your mother left you. Join us here, your beauty is wasting away in the bush." At first, Aadaora laughed nervously. "It's not that simple," she said. But each call chipped away at her resolve. She imagined herself in fancy clothes, posing for pictures, earning praise on social media. The farmland began to look like a prison, holding her back from her dreams. One hot afternoon, a sleek black jeep drove into the village, raising dust. Children ran after it, shouting with excitement. A tall man in polished shoes stepped out, adjusting his gold wristwatch. His name was Mr. Okafor, a businessman from the neighboring town. Word spread quickly, he was looking for land to buy. Aadaora's ears perked up when she heard his interest lay in her mother's farm. That evening, he visited her compound. She welcomed him nervously, offering a wooden stool. He declined with a smile, remaining standing, his voice smooth as palm wine. "I hear your late mother left you a piece of land," he said. Aadaora hesitated. "Yes, but it's all I have." Mr. Okafor leaned closer. "My dear, land is just that unless you have money. Look at me, I built my wealth from trading in land. If you sell, I will pay you handsomely. Enough for you to live the life you dream of." Aadaora's heart beat fast. His words wrapped around her like silk. "But," she whispered, "my mother warned me never to sell it." The man chuckled softly. "Parents talk like that. They lived in a different time. This is the modern world. What use is land to a young woman like you? Do you want to spend your life bent under the sun, farming cassava? Or do you want to wear fine clothes, use the latest phone, and be admired wherever you go?" That night, Aadaora could not sleep. She heard her mother's voice in her mind, "Never sell this land, Aadaora. It carries our bloodline." But then she saw her friends' Instagram posts, smiling faces, expensive hair, glittering jewelry. By dawn, greed had won. She signed the papers with trembling hands. The businessman counted the money in crisp notes, stacking them before her. Aadaora's eyes widened, she had never seen so much cash in her life. She clutched it tightly, her lips parting in a laugh that echoed across the compound. With that money, Aadaora's transformation began. She bought wigs, designer clothes, a sparkling new iPhone, and makeup kits. Within weeks, she left Umuezee for the city. She started posting pictures online. Pictures of her in clubs, in hotels, and at fancy restaurants flooded the timeline. She posed in dresses that shimmered under nightclub lights. Comments poured in, "Aadaora, you're glowing. Big girl things. Village to city in style." She smiled at every notification, basking in the admiration. The farmland was a distant memory now. But in the quiet hours of the night, when the music faded and her friends fell asleep, Aadaora sometimes heard it, her mother's voice, soft but stern, whispering through her dreams. "You have sold your inheritance. You have awakened Ogbona's anger." She always woke up sweating, brushing the thought aside. After all, what harm could come from living her dream? At first, city life felt like a dream come true for Aadaora. The money from the land sale opened doors she had only fantasized about. She walked through malls with shopping bags dangling from both hands. She sipped cold drinks in air-conditioned restaurants, snapping selfies that captured every detail of her expensive wigs and sparkling shoes. But soon, the cracks began to show. The money that once felt endless began to drain quickly. Designer clothes and weekend parties came at a price, and Aadaora's purse grew lighter with each passing day. One morning, she opened her bank app and froze. The numbers had shrunk to almost nothing. Still, she told herself it was fine. She had friends now, friends who called her big girl. They would not let her lack. Or so she thought. Then came the dreams. At first, they were vague, dark forests, distant drums, a figure watching her from the shadows. She would wake up panting, dismissing it as stress. But night after night, the dreams deepened. She saw her mother, standing on the farmland she had sowed, her face pale, her eyes wet with sorrow. Beside her stood a towering figure, taller than any man, its skin the color of midnight, its eyes glowing like burning coal. The figure carried a staff that crackled with fire. You sold what was not yours to sell, the voice boomed. Aadaora would jolt awake, heart racing, sweat soaking her bedsheets. Her friends laughed when she told them. Dreams are nothing, one said, painting her nails lazily. You've just been thinking too much. Another shrugged. Your village spirits can't follow you here. Relax. But Aadaora could not relax. The dreams kept recurring every night. Even during the day, whenever she closed her eyes she saw strange things. And then, her skin. One morning, she looked in the mirror and screamed. Red lines, thin, sharp marks, ran across her arms as though invisible claws had scratched her in the night. She rushed to the hospital, but doctors found nothing wrong. Back in Umuezee, the farmland Aadaora sowed grew restless. Villagers whispered that the new owner complained of hearing cries at night. Farmhands refused to work there after claiming they saw shadows moving among the ridges. Chickens that strayed onto the land died mysteriously. The elders shook their heads gravely. Ogbonna has been provoked, they said. Meanwhile, Aadaora's city friends began to distance themselves. Nobody wanted to stay close to a girl who screamed in her sleep, who spoke of spirits and woke up with scratches no one could explain. Soon, they mocked her behind her back. She's cursed, one whispered. Her village gods are following her. Alone and desperate, Aadaora fell into silence. She stopped posting pictures online. One night, Aadaora stumbled into her apartment bathroom, her hands trembling as she gripped the sink. Her face in the mirror looked pale, damp with sweat, her lips quivering as she whispered, "It's just a dream, nothing is following me." But as her eyes lifted, her breath caught in her throat. The reflection staring back was not hers. Cold-red eyes blazed where her own should have been, burning with a fury that froze her blood. Behind her reflection, a towering shadow emerged, the unmistakable form of Ogbonna, his fiery staff crackling with light, his presence filling the tiny room with terror. Aadaora's mouth fell open in a silent scream, her knees buckling as the bathroom light flickered violently, mixing its cold glow with the unnatural fire from the mirror. And then, just as suddenly, it was gone, leaving her gasping, clutching the sink, unsure if she had lost her mind. Another evening, she collapsed in the middle of a busy street, clutching her chest. Strangers gathered, sprinkling water on her face. But Aadaora wasn't fainting, she was screaming. "Leave me. Leave me alone," she cried, clawing at her skin. "Mama, forgive me." To those around her, she looked insane. But to Aadaora, the figure was right there, standing tall before her. The guardian spirit's fiery staff struck the ground, and she felt the earth shake beneath her. "You dishonored your bloodline," the spirit thundered. "Now the ground itself rejects you." That night, Aadaora made her choice. She packed her few belongings, boarded a bus, and returned to Umuezee. Shame burned in her chest, but fear pushed her forward. She needed answers. She needed help. And she knew that only the elders, and perhaps the same spirit that tormented her, could decide her fate now. When Aadaora returned to Umuezee, she was a shadow of herself. The vibrant, proud girl who once flaunted wigs and flashy clothes had grown thin. Her once bright eyes looked haunted, her laughter had vanished. She barely spoke, except to whisper her mother's name in her sleep. The villagers watched her with pity and a little fear. Some shook their heads and muttered, "This is what happens when you despise your mother's words." Children pointed at her secretly, whispering, "That's the girl who sold her mother's land." Aadaora went straight to the elders. Kneeling before them, she poured out her heart. Tears ran freely down her cheeks. "Please, help me. I have offended the ancestors. I see the spirit every night. I hear my mother's voice. They will not let me rest." The elders summoned the Dibia, the native priest. He cast cowries on the earth, his chants rising and falling. When the last shell landed, silence filled the air. The Dibia's face hardened. "You broke a covenant," he said gravely. "The land was sacred. It did not belong only to you, it belonged to your ancestors and to generations yet unborn. By selling it, you spat on their memory." Aadaora's lips trembled. I will buy it back. I will go to the city, I will do anything to get the land back." The elders exchanged glances. One of them, Papa Okri, shook his head. "Child, it is too late. The land is no longer bare soil. The man has started building on it. You cannot return what is no longer there." Aadaora fell forward, her forehead hitting the earth. "There must be a way. Please, tell me what I can do." The Dibia's voice was firm. "You cannot undo what is done. When the covenant is broken, the spirit must take its price." Aadaora wept bitterly. For days, she refused to eat, walking barefoot around the village, mumbling to herself. At night, she paced the compound, her eyes wide, as though she expected the spirit to rise from the earth at any moment. One night, she thought of going to the city again, searching for the businessman who had bought the land. She wondered if she bought the land back, maybe she would have peace. But deep down, she knew it was impossible. The Dibia had told her there was no way. She was doomed. Exhausted and desperate, she returned once more to the Iroko tree where her mother had often prayed. Kneeling in the moonlight, she lifted her hands and cried, "Ogbonna, guardian of the land, forgive me. I was blind, I was foolish, I did not know." But the night was not silent. A cold wind rose, rustling the leaves. And then she saw him, the same towering figure from her dreams, his fiery eyes glowing, his staff striking the ground. "You knew," the spirit thundered. "Your mother warned you. The elders warned you. Yet you chose greed over honor. You sold your bloodline for vanity." Aadaora trembled. "Please. I will serve you, I will do anything." But the spirit shook his head. "The land cannot be restored. The price must be paid." At that moment, Aadaora felt her body weaken. Her knees buckled, her breath grew shallow. Villagers who heard her cries rushed to the tree and found her riding on the ground, her eyes rolling back, her voice echoing words no one understood. By dawn, Aadaora was still alive, but she was no longer the same. Her beauty faded overnight, her body frail, her mind shattered. She wandered the village aimlessly, muttering to herself, warning others never to sell their inheritance. And so, Aadaora became a cautionary tale in Umuezee. The land remained cursed, untouchable, a reminder of what happens when tradition is thrown away for greed. From that day onward, Aadaora lived not as the city queen she once dreamed of, but as a broken reminder of greed's consequences. She roamed the village barefoot, her once glowing skin pale, her eyes distant. Sometimes she muttered her mother's name. Sometimes she laughed at nothing, only to burst into tears moments later. The farmland she sold was never tilled again. Strange things continued to happen there, mysterious cries at midnight, sudden whirlwinds on quiet afternoons, crops that refused to grow. The villagers avoided it, shaking their heads. "That is the land of Ogbonna," they said. "A sacred place, betrayed by human hands." And so, the story of Aadaora became a warning passed from mouth to mouth, from elders to children, from one generation to the next. The lesson was clear. Money can be spent. Beauty can fade. But land, the inheritance of one's ancestors, carries a weight beyond gold. To dishonor it is to dishonor your bloodline, and the price of disrespect will always be greater than the pleasure of greed. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and click the notification bell so you won't miss more powerful stories like this. Tell me in the comments, do you think Aadaora deserved her fate, or could she have been forgiven? I'd love to hear your thoughts.